Pikachu! Hello, welcome to the Art Hitman, and I'm Perry, and today I'm going to be drawing Pikachu. Don't forget to subscribe to support this channel. Now let's begin. Okay, let's start by dividing the page in half with a vertical line that goes from the top of the page to the bottom. Then you want to put a nice size circle towards the bottom of the page, like so. Okay. I'm gonna pause for a moment there so that you can see what I'm doing. Now that you have your nice circle, you want to put in a horizontal line that goes straight across and make it higher up on the circle. And the reason for this is where you want Pikachu's eyes to be on. Okay. The next step is going to be to do his ear on the left side of his head. So I'm going to come in and take my finger and use this horizontal line here and draw an arc that comes from the bottom up to the top of the page, and then back from the top to the bottom onto where I want his head to be. I'm gonna sketch that in, and then do the same thing for the right side of his head. So I'm gonna measure off the horizontal line and do the same thing. Just have an arc that goes from the top and then to the bottom, and this is where you establish where you want his ears to be. All right, and then I'm gonna take the top of his head and round it off just a little bit. And from here, I'm gonna go ahead and put his eyes in. So when you're putting the eyes in, you wanna, again, take your finger and mark between where the edge of his ear is to the outside of your finger. And you can go ahead and put the circle in that represents his eye. Just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on his left side, the left side of his face. You want to mark that where you want his eye to go. Okay, and then you put the circle in where that represents his left eye. Okay, now with his nose is going to be just below the horizontal line. So we're going to drop that in, and that is also a oval shape, and it comes to like a T shape or a point at the bottom. Next, we're going to bring the top of his mouth in. Now, with his mouth, I usually like to say it's like a W shape. So you're going to take a half arc shape here and do the same thing for the left side of his face. There's another arc. So it's two arcs, and it has a W shape there. And then we'll bring down the bottom part of his mouth, which is going to be a huge U. So it's going to have a huge U shape to it because his mouth is going to be open really wide, like he's very excited about whatever it is that he's going to be doing in the episode of Pokemon. And then you come in for his tongue and just put a arc in there for his tongue. All right, now I want to go back in, and then for the bottom portion of his, or part of his head, you want to make a line coming straight down, and then it's going to come out and curve just a little bit, and until you get to the bottom part of his face. Same thing with the left side of his head. You want to bring that down and kind of come out on like an oval shape, and then come around for the bottom. Now we have the entire shape of Pikachu's head and ears. So now we can begin the detail portion of this. So for his ear, we're going to go in and put almost like a triangular shape, but you're just not going to put the bottom portion in. So normally with a triangle, you would have a line coming here to here. Well, you don't need that. You can do the same thing for his right ear, halfway, and put like half a triangle shape in there. But you just don't put the bottom part of the triangle in. You leave it open. For the bottom part of his face, he has circles for his cheeks. I say do a half circle and let it go off the edge of his face. Pause there for you. Take a look at it. Same thing with the right side of his face. You want to come in and do the same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and measure that. As you see, I'm going to take my finger here and then do the same thing here. So as you see on the right side, I'm going to make an adjustment, mark that. So the circle should come out to about here. And let's go ahead and erase that. Okay, so they both look like they're in the same spot. Then you're going to add the highlight of his eye here. And the same thing on his left eye. Now for the next portion of this tutorial, I'm going to be doing some shading. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in his eyes, nose, and the top part of his ears. Those are the darkest part of the drawing. So at this point, I'm going to speed up the drawing. Now, for this portion of it, I'm going to use my number 2 pencil to define the lines and add detail. And remember, when you're adding detail, you're just following the contour of the drawing, so that when you use the number 2 pencil, that's the darkest pencil that I'm going to be using. And what happens is you can go as dark as you like, so that you're finalizing the drawing, and that every line that you put down at this point is going to be a line that you're satisfied with. Now that I have the contour on the outside of Pikachu's head, I'm going to go and clean up most of the lines that I put down in the beginning. So I'm going to speed this portion up. Okay, now that I have it all cleaned up, I can go back now and do my final detail portions of Pikachu's face and pretty much define everything that we went over in the beginning. Make sure that you take the time to finalize all your lines and be certain about what you want to show forward and what you want to get rid of at this point. And so I'm defining and darkening in all of the lines that we went over in this tutorial. So everything that I'm putting in now is finalized. So I'm saying that everything looks good, and I'm going to use this number 2 pencil to darken and define everything else that I talked about earlier in this tutorial. And this helps out also with, let's say, inking purposes, or at this point when you want to go over with inking, you know the lines are defined and they're there to stay. There's no guessing at this point what lines go where and why. So this is why you clean up with the eraser and go back and then define everything that you worked on up until the end point of the drawing. So if you're working with someone else in the future and you might want to ink your drawings and things like that, this is the cleanup portion of it where you're saying everything that I put down here is what I want you to follow. And that's going to complete this tutorial. Thank you for stopping by, and until next time, keep drawing.